Hi, my name's Doug Beavers. I am Vice President of Select Machine. We currently have 11 full-time employees, and we're a manufacturing facility located in Brimfield, Ohio. Select Machine was formed 16 years ago. We first started in Ellet, Ohio as a result of working for another larger firm that was purchased by the Japanese. So we're looking for an exit scheme from working for a firm that was foreign-owned. When Select Machine was started, there was 2 owners, and then a third was added. As we increased our sales, we looked for an additional person, not only to be an owner, but also an operator of machinery so that we can increase our sales. And as time went on, and it became a full-time job for all owners, our third owner elected not to leave his current job. His ownership was purchased in a buyout, and Select ended up with 2 owners again. We also realized at that time that at some point we would have to have a succession plan in place. Growing a business was extremely hard and difficult and very slow process, but we knew we'd be faced with a future that we had to plan for. 7 or 8 years later, Bill and I started considering how we were going to leave the company and what we would do with it. We had no heirs that were willing to step in to be part of the company or wanted to see the tradition of the company continue. As that process started, we were contacted by numerous companies that were willing to purchase Select Machine. Buyers were more willing to buy the company, buy the assets, and buy the technology and our customer base. And their most interest was then to take the company and move it elsewhere, and leaving our employees without employment, which was not part of our plan. Understanding that an option of direct sale to an outside firm was not in our best interest or our customers, we happened upon the Ohio Employee Ownership Center. Upon reading all the information that was provided, we thought that this might be a viable solution to our problem. We have a very dedicated staff that had been with us a long period of time, and we felt that they needed to be rewarded for all of their good, honest service to the company. We started a succession planning process simply by entering in the computer, searching for succession of a business. And the Ohio Employee Center cropped up, and there were some names and a bunch of good information. After reading the information, discussing it with Bill, we thought it might be a viable solution. And we contacted the center, and the center sent out a Dr. Logue and a Bill McIntyre, and we started the conversation, and the conversation blossomed. And once we had a thorough understanding of the necessary tools and the necessary instruments to put a buy in place, we proceeded, and within 6 months, Select Machine Inc. became Select Machine Co-op. As we explored and moved into the co-op arena, certainly there were a lot of unanswered questions because in our instance, we're not a farming co-op or an apartment co-op. We're a machining co-op, which has not really been done before. So there was some territory that nobody had ever entered before, which took some expertise not only from legal counsel, but also from financial counsel. We were apprised that we were eligible for a 1042 rollover, and the ramifications of the tax ramifications of using that rollover. However, Bill and I elected not to take advantage of the 1042 rollover, tax rollover, because of the implications of nesting money that was very difficult to get to until we were very late in our lives. And we wanted to enjoy the fruits of our endeavor as we finish off our life. Bill and I realized initially that when the co-op was formed, that we would also have to have a transition period, bringing current employees who are now co-op members on board to manage and run the company. The transition has started from day one that the co-op was formed and continues to this day. Part of the transition with co-op members filling other positions that normally they did not have, it's been very important during this transition period that they have interaction with not only bankers, our legal people, our financial people, our tax people, but also, most important, with our customers, so that they build that bond and the trust with the customers, so that there's very little or no reason for a customer to look for a new vendor for their service. During our transition period from a privately held corporation to a cooperative, it was very important to keep our customers abreast of our progress so that they had no reason also to look for another vendor for services. So very important to keep your vendors and all others that you deal with in the loop so they understand what you're going through. Because the first thing they'll chase off a customer is if they think that you won't be there for them next week. I have all the confidence in the world that the co-op members that have been placed into the transition stage will in fact be able to run this company and be very successful in the future. For an employee ownership, in my estimation, to be extremely successful, it's very important that you have a core group of employees that have the same thought process or similar, especially if you're a profitable company and you want it to remain profitable. The line of thinking and carrying on certain traditions certainly has to be within the reach of existing employees. Select Machines' experience in putting a cooperative in place was very smooth transition, very enjoyable, very easy, and accomplished in less than 6 months. I was from the very beginning involving legal and financial counsel, and there really were no stumbling blocks other than just not knowing exactly what to prepare for the next week. But when next week came, the center was there to help us through it. So very enjoyable experience. If the situation had arisen again, Bill and I would have done exactly the same that we did in forming a cooperative for our employees. It was such a pleasant experience, there'd be no hesitation in doing the same thing again. It would be my advice to any other owners that are looking for a succession plan, that are willing to put in place a cooperative, that it's imperative that the employees go on board with the owners and it's a joint venture. It cannot be a one-way street, that the owner will do everything and have his way on how the succession will take place. It's a joint venture between owners and employees.
My name's Todd Brewster. I work at Select Machine. My position at Select Machine is pretty unique due to the fact of the company that we are. I'm a manager in charge of human resources, ordering, dealing with customers, vendors, occasionally programming, running machines. So as a small company, my position is a broad spectrum. Overall, I'm basically a manager of the company. Doug and Bill were the previous owners, and they'd made a decision that they wanted to sell the company, and they're very caring individuals, something that you really don't find nowadays in a lot of business. You know, most business owners are out for number one, that's them. They had opportunity to sell the company, Select Machine, to all varying different companies that were interested, but they really want to take care of the people that work for them, because the people that worked for them from the beginning to the present had taken care of them. And so they decided they were going to look for an option to allow those people to reap some of the rewards that they had reaped from the company. My roles at Select Machine have changed significantly since we become a co-op. When we became a co-op, the initial plans were that Bill and Doug were going to still do all the managerial parts of the company and make the decisions as far as what jobs to take, not to take, quoting, dealing with customers, vendors. Well then, shortly after we became a co-op, Bill had exited the co-op to take another position with a different company. And so then we need to progress someone into the office to start learning the quoting and the dealing with vendors and talking to the customers and ordering tooling and all the things that go along with the managerial end of it. And so I was selected to go in the office and start that process. So out of everybody involved in this co-op to this point, the roles have stayed pretty much similar to what they were, but mine has probably changed the most because I was taking from running a machine on a daily basis and setting up and running and making parts and doing everything that a machinist would do on the floor to going into the office and working with customers and vendors and, you know, human resource end of things, tooling end of things. So my roles changed significantly compared to what it was. You know, doing the invoicing, doing the billing, paying bills, you know, receiving in, everything has changed. I would say that, you know, their reluctantness to start handing over the reins, so to speak, was very minimal, but there was still some there. You know, they had created a company and started this company themselves and built it from nothing up to what it was. So, you know, it's kind of like raising a child, and you had raised that child from infancy to adulthood, and you just want what's best for that child. And it's the same thing Bill and Doug were feeling with their company. You know, I mean, this is something they're proud of, something they made, something they created, something they stuck with, something they did. So they didn't want to just automatically, here you go, throw the reins to them and say, have at it. So there was some slight reluctancy at the beginning of the transition, but it didn't take very long, in my opinion, to where several of the roles or several of the things that needed done, decisions that needed made, were said, hey, this is your company, you guys make those decisions. So I believe they handed us decisions that needed to be made that were decisions, if you made the wrong decision, it wasn't totally going to disrupt the flow of the company. The decision making that's been made within the company now, and you know, the owners have a big fear possibly that, hey, now everybody's an owner, they feel, hey, we're in charge of making every decision or being involved in every decision that needs to be made. I think it was made fairly clear right up front, you know, just because you're an owner doesn't eliminate you from being released from a company. You know, doesn't mean that you can just do as you please. So I think that was made well aware to everyone right up front. You know, and it was made aware that, you know, day-to-day decisions are not decisions that are made by every single employee of the company. Day-to-day decisions are made by the people who are, you know, in the office, so to speak, managing the company, and those are the ones that are going to make the day-to-day decisions. Any crucial decisions that need to be made were going to be made by the board of directors. And initially, I don't think anyone felt, hey, I need to be involved in making every decision.
I've been an employee here at Select Machine going on 9 years now. We're a machine shop located in Brimfield, Ohio. We are a contract company. In other words, what we do is we take quotes, we give quotes to our customers on machine products. We pretty much don't have a product line, but we do have a few major customers that we do more or less the same work for all the time. It's replacement tool steels. Pretty much about Select Machine. I'm a machinist here. I've been a machinist here, but since we've become the co-op, I've become the president and chief executive officer of the company. It sounds fancy, but it amounts to not much. Yeah, the tie's right here. The CEO. Yeah. Well, it sounds a lot more than it is, believe me, but I come in, I run a machine every day just like we always did. And the idea behind employee ownership is what we've done is we're just a group of all of us that are running the company now and producing the parts and making programs and everything are all employees of this company. So there's really no executives, if you will. People who come in ties, we all work in this shop. we've moved forward from being employees to owners, and we're just, the way I always describe it is we're just a group of guys trying to make a go of it. And that's really what it comes down to. We all, not we all, some of us have titles, but we're just guys just trying to make a living. Becoming an owner of the company gives you more insight into the day-to-day operations, whereas when you're just an employee, you're interested in doing the best job you can, machining parts to the best of your ability, get them ready for shipping, but you really don't pay attention to the dollars and cents of material costs, tooling costs. You really become very aware of what it costs for insurance, benefits, and all the day-to-day operations of the company. Those are things that you really need to learn. Your tax problems, and their tax problems, all the things that you need to be made aware of as an owner that you were never aware of before. It's become very exciting to learn, but it's been a learning process, and we've had the two previous owners helping us in that transition, and now we just have one of the previous owners here who is helping us in that transition of understanding what it takes on a day-to-day basis of actually running a company, along with machining of the parts and making the good quotes and so forth, whereas you're really not privy to that as just an employee. Becoming an owner really opens your eyes up to what it takes on a day-to-day basis, and it's not only dealing with the workflow, but dealing with the customers and dealing with employees and fellow workers. I've been with Doug and Bill for like almost 9 years now, and really learned how they operated their company. And even when I hired in, I would see them do things with employees that I just thought was outrageous. You can't put up with that, you can't have that, but that's the way they operated their company. It was a very family-friendly place, which generally is not like that in a machine shop. So having that long period of time, I'll use the word being nurtured under Doug and Bill, and there's another guy here, John, who's also come to really learn their methods of operation as far as the way they operated a company. And it's really, that is what inspired us to want to keep this thing moving, to keep a term that I use, the flavor of the company, the same once they're out of the picture, because it was really a unique way of handling employees and handling the business itself. So since I was here the longest and done it more, I've got almost 30 years of machining experience. I've interacted with customers already. Whenever they would leave, they would go on trips, take their vacations. I would step in and take care of that. And certainly not doing all the quoting or anything like that, but customer contact, answering the phones, putting out the hot jobs, that we call them putting out the fires that happen spontaneously, as far as the workflow or a hiccup, a machine goes down or something on it. So I've had probably the longest period of time with them under that, so I got voted in for it. But again, it sounds loftier than it really is. Here in our situation, it may be different in a larger company. They not only set up their business to be a business that was somewhere that they would have wanted to work when they were coming up through the ranks, wish that their place of business was like that. They created that environment here, which is something we grabbed a hold of, and like, this is really, if I ran a business, this is the way I would run it. As far as becoming owners and looking at it from an owner's standpoint, yeah, a lot of being the employees here and still being employees here is a good feeling, but being owners is something that we have not experienced before. It is a welcoming thought, a little bit frightening sometimes when you're able to look at P&L statements and looking at, wow, the numbers are falling, and then a month later looking, wow, we're doing great, we're doing great. But it's really looking at the company finances has helped us get an even, steady feel for the business end of it. But personally inside, it's very exciting. I still come to work. Came to work before as an employee here under the previous owners was an easy thing to do. It was easy to come to work. It was easy to show up every day. Now it's more thrilling to do it, knowing that at the end of the day, it's all coming back to you. At the end of the year, it's coming back to you, and your efforts. Even though you felt your efforts were doing worthwhile good for the two previous owners, it feels a lot better doing it for yourself. That is very gratifying. It's enough still to get you out of bed in the morning and have you come to work and you feel good about it when you come through the door. That's a great environment. We felt that way before, but it just, when you know that you're really doing it for yourself and you're the employee owners and the company is yours and you really can set the direction, It's a very, very gratifying feeling.